Hi there, I am Ewout, and unfortunately at the moment I'm in Kenya. Luckily my parents will be there with you today, and I believe even my supervisors have found some time to join you, so thank you for that. So I'm here standing within the background that big puddle, some call it the Indian Ocean, and that is where I performed the fieldwork for my thesis. So I will very shortly explain what my thesis was about. We started a coral reef restoration project, Reefolution Kenya, to restore patches of the reef that were damaged in the past. For this project we collect tiny pieces of coral that are broken off, and we grow them in nursery structures to big healthy coral fragments that we can put back onto the degraded reef. Now that sounds pretty cool, but there are some inefficiencies in this process. In the nursery phase, where we're growing the coral, we also have to clean the nurseries around the coral, because there's lots of stuff growing on those nursery structures that are growing much faster than the coral. So it's like weeding your garden. We have to remove all those weeds. That is done with a toothbrush and scuba diving. That gets a little bit boring after a while, or zen, depending on your mindset, but more importantly, it's very time consuming and expensive. Then if you look at the natural reef, there are no scuba divers with their toothbrush. No, here the herbivorous fish graze away all the algae. So for my thesis I was focusing on how I could use those grazing fish to clean our nursery structures. So I had some nursery structures to which all the grazing fish could come, and I had some nursery structures that were closed off. No fish could come there. And after a few months we could already see that those caged nurseries were exploding with algae. It was just one cage full of algae, so the coral was having a hard time growing there. So what I can conclude then from my thesis is that we should actually place those nursery structures very close to a healthy reef, so that all those grazing fish can help us to clean the structures. Saves us a lot of time and money. Now I've returned to Kenya for two reasons. One is to continue my thesis a bit, but then not focusing on the nursery phase of the coral reef restoration, but on the outplanting phase. So now I want to design artificial reefs that would attract and house those beneficial fish and other organisms that could help to maintain their own reef. So actually I'm trying to facilitate those facilitators themselves. Then the other thing that I'm returning for to Kenya has to do with global warming. The ocean's temperatures are also rising, and that has really a big negative effect on the coral. It's bleaching, you might have seen it in the news, Great Barrier Reef, but also here in the Indian Ocean. The coral is going to get a real hard time if the temperatures are going to rise further. So actually what I'm here for today at this mangrove field is to collect some coral fragments that are already growing in really harsh conditions. In the shallow water of the mangroves there's lots of variation in salinity, in oxygen, but most importantly in temperature. So we want to collect a few of those fragments, put them in our nursery structures and see how they're doing, if they maybe will be the corals of the future. So these are the two things that I'm working on at the moment, so that is the reason why I can't be with you there today. But I really want to thank you for putting my thesis in the spotlight, and I think that is all I have to say.